Hello, everyone. Today, David and I are going to discuss the topic, will low mortgage rates ever return? So I know we all hope that low mortgage rates are going to return. I mean, if you know anything about the last 10 years in real estate, we experienced super low mortgage interest rates the last few years, and now they're starting to increase. So the question is, will they return? David, I know you are an expert in interest rates and mortgage rates, because you listen to the real estate no
The
you
rate
listen to
guy, the
the
rate
rate
guy
guy
podcast.
podcast that we discussed in our last episode. But what do you think? Do you think it's possible? I personally have heard it's not possible that they're going to become that low. But then again, you never know. Like 30 years from now, they definitely could be. What do you think, David?
Yeah, it's hard to predict exactly what's going to happen with interest rates over a long period of time. In the short term, I think it's highly unlikely that we experience anything like what we have over the last decade since the last Great Recession, with interest rates as low as sub 3%. Very hard to imagine a place where that would take place again in the near future. So my personal feeling is that I mean, right now we're pushing up against 7% interest rate on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. So interest rates are high for what we have experienced over the last roughly decade or even 20 years. But historically speaking, this is on par. I mean, during the 80s, we had interest rates in the high teens. And so when you look at it from a long horizon, interest rates in the 7% is probably on par. I would be interested. We should look this up. What's the average interest rate over the last 50 years? I'm going to have to actually look that up and I'll come back and report. But interest rates settling in at the 4 and 5%, I think is where we're going to settle in for a longer period of time. We're obviously elevated right now at roughly 7%. If the Fed can get inflation under control without completely breaking the economy, then I think we'll start to see those interest rates stabilize and slowly come down. And I think they'll settle in that, 4.5 to 5.5%. And I think that's going to become the new normal that people will have to deal with. And I think the market will adjust accordingly. What that does is it gives the Fed room to lower and raise. What happened previously was they were so low, the Fed fund rate was zero, right? So they didn't have any room to go any lower. I mean, I guess they could go negative. I've heard that that's a possibility. I don't know how technically that works, but um, they need some room, and by settling in at an interest rate that gives them room to go up and down to manipulate the economy is really where they want to be. And so I don't think that we're going to get back to 2 and 3% anytime in the near future. I think we're going to settle in around 4.5 to 5.5%.
Yeah. And to me, those are low. Like to
Yeah, that's a
like
low
anyone
interest rate.
Yeah, so anyone who knows, like historically, I mean, you used to have interest rates at like 18%, in the late 90s, I believe. Um, and so even right now, like 7%, I know this is probably like, I don't know if I have the experience to be saying this, but I think even right now at 7%, like that's not that high. Like in my opinion, you can still make a lot of properties work analytically with a 7% interest rate. Now go ahead and change that number to 11 or 12 and then, to me that's high. Like over 9% is high. And I think within the next 20 years, we're probably going to see interest rates go really high. Like I really think that that's a possibility. And then they'll go back down. And so it's just finding properties that work with whatever interest rate you have and then taking advantage if you can refinance them. David is like, you are crazy.
No, no, no. I actually I just used Google Bard to
hmm
search up what's the average interest rate over the last 50 years. And here's what Google Bard had to say, with the disclaimer that it's not always accurate. But over the last 50 years, the average is 8.2.
See,
So,
I'm
um,
correct again.
yeah, 8.2. And the range on the high end was 18.45 in 1981. So late 90s, not accurate there, Jocelyn. Late 80s, yes, in the 80s, we had really high interest rates, topping out at 18.5 and then low of 2.65 in 2021. That was low. So yeah,
You know,
right now, 7% interest rate. I mean, we're on par for, historical average over the last 50 years.
yeah, and this is gonna show my age, but when I said late 90s, I meant like late 1900s.
Wow.
Because I don't really remember the 90s, but I was thinking like anyone who could remember that would be just kidding. So that is actually I didn't say it correctly, but I was thinking like 70s to 90s.
Gotcha.
I should have said late 1900s.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's
Understand.
what I should, but that's what I was gonna say. So I was correct actually. So
As you always are. Yes.
that's it for today. For more daily investing tips and real estate secrets, don't forget to visit breakfreerealestate.com and make sure to like, subscribe, and share our podcast. We will see you tomorrow.